since they dive deep into this, we are going to have a little discussion about it. Now, do I get on controversial topic? Now, do I do these videos very often? I do them enough sometimes. You'd be surprised what triggers me to do these, right? Like what gets me going. It's rarely what you think. And here's why. Most of the stuff I already knew about. I knew about it from the time it happened. The reason I knew about it at the time it happened, guys, like, I know all these guys, or I know quite a few of them. I have good friends that are fishing these events. I have friends. We all talk. We all pretty much get the inside scoop. Like, we knew all this going down a month ago, that this is what happened. Now, I didn't watch any of it. I didn't watch any of this stuff. In the sense of, I didn't watch the tournament as it goes on. Man, I was fishing. I don't have time to be doing all that. I do watch highlights of it, in the sense of, I did watch the videos that everyone was talking about, right? The ones that came into question. That's really not, I mean, everyone else is going to have their take on it, right? They're all going to do these takes and this and that. The problem is that there's probably very few that really understood what's going on. And that's kind of what I was going to talk about, is what's really going on, and why some people are confused about what's going on and the problem with that. And why I think that's a problem. That's why I made this video, is because if y'all know me, usually what will happen is guys will make a video and I'm like, this is a no-brainer to me. Like, this is such a not even a big deal. And when I say not even a big deal, this isn't even worth making a video on, because it's so cut and dry. That's what I'm thinking. And then all of a sudden, when I just instantly go to the comments, and I see the comments by, are they fans? I guess they're fans, people. That's usually what blows me away, are the comments. Because I'm like, well, wait a minute. This couldn't be more black and white and make so much sense. And yet, how are these people having a hard time understanding what's going on here? This shouldn't be this difficult. So that's what I'm going to talk about real quick. Okay? So, with all the stuff that happened in Cayuga, and I guess Spencer Suffield getting DQ'd, right? And then there's other, I don't know, to be honest with you. I know quite a few of the guys that were given a polygraph to, and we're talking about going to the same fish and doing that stuff, and the sight fishing, bed fishing, whatever you want to call it. I guess we can get into that too. What I'll say is this, is there is a rule. There's been a rule in place forever, okay? Since I've been fishing Pro-Am style events, I know this isn't a Pro-Am, but let's just treat it as one, because there's a guy in the boat. He's your marshal. When you fish Pro-Am events, your co-angler is your marshal. And for your co-angler, you are their marshal, right? If you're fishing as a boater, you're their marshal, right? You watch over them, they watch over you. That's how it's always been. That's why we try to keep the integrity within the sport. We've always been told one thing. When you catch a fish and you're sight fishing for it, and I'll get into the whole sight fishing thing, but if you're sight fishing for a fish on a bed, we all know what that means. Okay? Let's not try to get outside. This is the problem with all these people are trying to read between the lines. This is what has gone wrong with fishing. All these people trying to get in this gray area. Okay? We all know what that means. It's a fish on a bed, right? That we can see. If we catch it, it has to be in the mouth. Okay? That's it. It's a pretty simple, guys, it's a simple rule. Now, I do think there's some, like, things I'll go over, but for the most part, we know what that is, right? You're supposed to show it to your guy. Show it to the mouth. When I fished the tour, a lot of times we always had to have a camera, right? I've done it a lot of times where, if you see me, I showed my camera instantly. That way I'm covered on two different bases, right? It's just easier that way. Why not? I've dealt with so much stuff in the past about guys being jealous and things like that, and about how people, that's why I run around with a video camera constantly, because I want to, like, this is like, I wish I'd have had it when I was younger, right? because that's the best way to show anyone that ever thought you were doing something wrong. Have that video camera. That's why I keep it on now. Anyone that drives by me knows that that video camera is rolling all the time for everything. And y'all know that. Y'all know that I capture everything. I don't care if it's just out there fun fishing. I have my camera on. So I'm not going to get into that. That one's an easy one. Okay. It clearly showed he unhooked the fish in the water. I don't know why. I like. Well, I know why. But I mean, either way, like I said, you're fishing for that much money, and this is the norm. I'm going to try to get this fish in the boat as quick as possible, and I'm going to be. I've never dug around. I've never done anything like that. That's just weird. Sorry, man. That's just a weird look for you to be doing that. Okay. I don't know the guy. Never met him. I don't even know what he looks like. But I mean, it clearly states that's what you need to do. It's plain and simple. Okay. The other stuff about going back to fish and doing all that, with the letter of the law, the way they wrote it, obviously, when you write a rule like that, and it's not that it's not explained better, but they're doing it by the letter of the law, right? Of them going back to fish multiple times, and what would happen was they'd catch a fish, looking at it, and then back off of that same fish later on, right? And not look at it and catch it. I wasn't there in the meeting. I understand that that's the rule. If they'd have said, hey, if they'd have told me you're going to get DQ'd if you go catch the same fish twice, right? Sight fishing. I'd have been like, okay, well, I'm not going back to that fish. Now, I'm not saying that's what was said. But like, if someone told me that, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. That's the same fish. Now, maybe there's two fish, and there wasn't two fish. I'm just saying I could see scenarios where, hey, there was two fish. I probably would have caught both of them at the same time. Like I said, I put out videos where I've done that. So I don't. We all know what went down. We all know what went down. That's what happened. They went back and caught the same fish twice. I think the problem with both these scenarios and in both some of the videos you're seeing on the internet is the fact that when you catch a sight fish on a bed and you bring it in, and then all of a sudden you're digging around the boat and you're all up underneath the boat, and then you unhook the fish in the water and bring it up with $100,000 on the line. I mean, I don't know about that. Well, none of us would do that. The other thing too is if you went back to the same fish, and then you kind of like you make it sound. I mean, let's just call it what it is. You make it sound like you didn't know this was going to be the same fish, and is this going to help you? Yeah, you knew it was going to help you. It was the same fish. And I don't want to, like, I saw these comments that were like, well, there's no way to really know, and blah, blah. This is the part of fishing that just drives me crazy. Yes, you knew. We all knew. You know where you're at. That's the one thing. You know where you're at. What I could tell you every single fish I caught off of a bed at Toledo Bend. Right? That was months ago. I could take you to the exact spot right now. I could tell you how much they basically weighed. I could tell you what the fish looked like, how it bit. I could tell you everything about it. I could. We're talking about the same day? Come on. And like, I'm not even, when I say I'm not upset with that, I'm not upset with the fact that they read the rule and interpreted the way they want to. Right? Now that's an MLF problem. And I say that because that can't happen in bass or a normal tournament. I don't even want to say bass. It has nothing to do with bass and MLF. That wouldn't happen in a normal tournament because you're going to catch it and put it in the live well. Okay. So part of the problem with, I don't want to say it's a problem. It's their problem. Okay. They're having, when they came out with this different way of weighing in fish, which regardless of whether it's good or bad, doesn't matter. It's a new system. And within that system, there's going to be kinks along the way. This is a kink. They ran into a kink along the way that no one really, and I'll be honest, I usually foresee things happening. I would have foreseen catching the same fish off the same bed. I get that part. And I would have wrote the rule differently, right? I would have seen that. The problem is that's what they're running. They're running into things because this has never been done before. And so it's putting people in a bad light. And it's putting people in a bad light because these fishermen, certain ones, and they're across the board. They're not just MLF, they're across the board. They push the limits, and they read the rules, and they interpret them the way they want to, and they skew the wording, so it makes them do things differently on the water because of that. I laughed about when people were like, well, I wasn't looking at that fish, right? He wasn't looking at it. He was blind casting to it. I'm fine with that, right? And I'll get into that. But you got to realize if we're going to go sight fishing, visibly looking at a fish, right? And I tie the two together. I tie that it's a bed fish and a sight fish, and I'm looking at that fish. To me, that's basically saying if you want to get like overlook the rules. That's like taking a treble hook, right? Putting a bait on one of the trebles, throwing it out there past the fish, looking at it, getting it right up to the fish, turning away and setting the hook, and going, well, I wasn't looking at it. Right? That's the way some of these guys think. I'm telling you, it must be. But that's the way they think. I was going to do a video about this, and then I'd be out there snagging a fish. I wanted to show how stupid it would be to go do something like that. Right? To take a treble hook, throw it out there, watch everything go down, turn your head so you're not sight fishing anymore, and set the hook. Because we all know what you were doing, right? It's obvious. Now, since we're on that subject about sight fish, I do think there are some things that are different. Right? Well, I made a video about this the other day on when we were at Ray Roberts and we sight fished some up, and it was the whole throwing the rocks in the water and all that stuff. We went there early. We caught 4 or at least 4. I know Russell caught 4 of them and never saw the fish. I told him where they were, and he was just blind casting around, right? And I say blind casting around. He just kept flipping in the same spot. You couldn't see him. It was dark outside. You could barely see him when it was sunny. And it was right off the bat in the morning. And we ended up catching them. Right? Every one of them. It's normal for us. I am shocked that all these people are snagging fish. There's some stuff. We were talking about this the other day about how many fish that we've snagged in a tournament ever. And I was going, man, it's been... Or when I say snagged fish, caught a fish outside the mouth, hooked outside the mouth. I can't even remember one over 10 to 15 years. Like that doesn't happen. It doesn't like if you notice some of the good sight fishermen out there, like the really good ones, you notice how it never happens to them? It just doesn't. There's a reason why it doesn't happen to them. There's a reason why it doesn't happen to us. Like, I'm shocked when I see people snagging fish or catching them outside the mouth. There's something going on there. And to do it multiple times, there's something going on. I don't know what that means. I can tell you I don't know what they're doing or how they approach it, but they're approaching it all wrong. Now, we catch fish all the time that are on a bed. We have seen it. I don't know if it's there. Like when I pull up in the morning time and start throwing out a fish and it's dark outside, I don't know if it's there. I'm just hoping it's still there. I don't even know how you'd snag one of those fish. Now, then, am I looking at it? It's a tough one because I'm not. When I pull up that morning, I've never seen it. I don't know if it's there. I'm throwing at it. It could be there. It might not be there. I mean, we've done it to where they're not there. Trust me. The bass map, yeah, what was it? I fished for one for like 45 minutes at Toledo Bend. It was actually the tournament I was leading after day one, but I fished for one that was like 12 or 13 pounds for like 45 minutes. I couldn't see. I didn't know it was gone. By the time it got sunny enough to where I could look, it was gone. I fished for it for like 45 minutes. It's part of it. If I'd have been flipping and all of a sudden it went over a bit and I caught and I set the hook and it was outside the mouth, I see. I'm trying to make up a scenario that I'm like, what would I do in that situation? The problem is it's never happened to me. I've never hooked one outside the mouth while blind casting to it where I couldn't see it. It's never happened. So it's weird. It's very hard. I would love to sit here and make a scenario where that's happened, but in all my years, it's never happened. So even trying to come up with that scenario doesn't sound right. The problem with all this is when you read the comments and you read all these things, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're the fall guys," and what about all the other people who did it? Well, you got to realize we're not saying that all those people didn't do wrong. We all know, and we all look at that rule as going, well, they're not allowed to go to the same fish twice. They didn't do a good enough job at writing the rule. We all will agree that that wasn't right. I say that most of the guys that didn't do it say that it wasn't right. Right? Other guys looking in go, you knew what they meant by that. Come on, right? Like, I can't believe we had to write a rule that much more, right? Because eventually we're going to look at, and our rules for fishing are going to be like 98 pages long. Because we have to go through all these scenarios and spell it out. When we know darn right, if we had a conversation, hey, don't go catch the same fish on a bed twice. If I told you that, right, all of us know what that means. But these guys are gonna do it. Whether you want them to or not, they're going to look at that rule. They're going to analyze every single rule and try to figure out how to get around it. I made a video about this already. It is what it's already happening. Okay, this is something MLF has got to figure out, and it's not their fault. It's just since they do their setup like this, right? But these guys are sitting there not agreeing with the rule and not agreeing with these things. The failed polygraph and all these different stuff. Look, it's on video. It doesn't show him showing the marshal that he took the hook out. I don't care if you think the marshal was supposed to do something or say something about it or whatever it is, right? These guys aren't getting paid thousands and thousands of dollars to go, stand up to a guy. These guys can be intimidating. There's a lot of things that these guys could probably be doing, right? And so, yes, it's hard to tell somebody that they did wrong. It's a lot easier to when they get done after the tournament and be like, hey, they did this wrong. But it doesn't matter. The funny thing is all this is on camera. It's all on film now. All this stuff has been going on for years. I am now well aware. I go up and down on whether or not how many people cheat in tournaments. And what I've realized is that, like, I do believe some guys like cheat, right? I mean, right, when we think about cheating, it's like we think about the guys with them in a basket, right? I mean, I think we've had over the years on Rayburn. Is it still going on? Yep, still is. I still think we have some cheaters to this day. I don't think they're very well known about, though. That's the crazy part. Some of us old timers, and I'm going to call myself an old timer now. We all know who they are. We all know that they've been, they either gotten caught or they've moved on, right? They stayed their welcome, right? That's what happens to most of them. That's the sad part, is most of them don't get caught. They just get persuaded not to show back up again. After they took thousands and thousands of dollars off everyone, It is they finally felt the heat. The problem with this is that like it it's only being known now because the cameras are on people. That's what's going on here. And so, man, um, they have a problem. They have a problem that they haven't done enough about it in the past. They swept a lot of it under the rug. It looks like they have fall guys, but the problem is that like they haven't really caught you. The problem with all this, you basically, even when you're caught red-handed, they're still not even getting that much in trouble. That's the bad part about it. And it's usually only getting outed by other people. Like people that aren't even in the organization, people that aren't even, it's like you got multiple people around the country now, certain guys that are like calling them out, and the video is getting pushed, and it's getting pushed to be like, hey, something better go on. Because if not, I think a lot of the stuff we got swept under the rug. And most of the fishermen, a lot of the fishermen, a lot of us, and I say us, like we get a lot of these conversations. When no one's around, a lot of us are talking a bunch about this stuff. And we're all tired of it. Part of the pushback we get is if we actually did, the comments that would get made about, oh, you're a crybaby, or oh, you're this or that, or all these things, and it's like you can't win. You can't win. So I appreciate some of these guys putting out these videos and really making it publicized, because they're getting a lot of the backlash for it. They really are. And you just go read the comments, and the guys are just not understanding what's going on. They know that others, I don't even want to say cheated. They know others did wrong, but since the letter of the law can't really convict them, then it's like, oh, this is BS. It's not BS. The one thing that they're usually going to catch you on is a pretty black and white one. You have to show your marshal it was hooked inside the mouth. The other stuff of going, is there a possibility that another random 5-pound, 5-ounce fish swam up on a bed and you caught it? There's always a possibility, I guess, right? But we know that's not what happened. And so that's part of the problem, is that like, don't put yourself in those situations. Don't go back to the same place where you, like, guys, I fished Toledo, right? Toledo's massive. I'm not going to go back to the same exact spot where I caught a 4-pounder earlier in the day and released it. I'm just going to keep on looking for more fish, like new spots. I'm not going to go over there and go, well, maybe there's a chance that another fish pulled up on this. We all know that smallmouth are going to go right back to it. Largemouth do too, but smallmouth are really worse. Smallmouth are going to go right back to that bed. Largemouth will too. The difference is smallmouth are dumb, and they tend to bite quicker and multiple times, even when you catch it. Largemouth you can catch again. They're way harder. Way harder. And two, they're a lot easier they're way harder when you catch it and take it out of the water, and even like if you would weigh it and stuff. Like just catching it and unhooking it real quick, that's different. They're sometimes really hard to catch even if you hook them and they jump a couple times, right? And they come off. That's a whole nother deal. I think with all this going on, I am glad that some stuff's being done about it finally. And we're going to get, everyone's like, hey, it's a black eye. The black eye isn't what's going down. It's how it's gotten handled. That stuff. Most of the people that I've seen are glad something's finally happening. Because it's very hard to have these tournaments and then show, and we all see on camera something that went down, or something that looked wrong, or something that looked fishy, and nothing's ever done about it. We're seeing it. We're not hearing about it secondhand. We're seeing it. And then if nothing getting done, that's the bad part. That's the black eye. These organizations need to understand that's the black eye. It's not the fishermen doing something wrong. People are going to do wrong stuff. That's never going to stop. But as an organization, you got to do something about it. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction. Because I promise you, you start doing this stuff, it'll change. It'll change instantly. Instantly. Promise. So that's my 2 cents on all this. Hopefully some guys, like I said before you comment, go understand the rules of what was being done and why they got certain people. They weren't picking people out. There was a reason they came down on him and not on others. Now, moving forward, it's going to be interesting where this goes. I don't know. Hopefully this will clear up some things for some people. I'm not too sure. I know some people are just already have it in their mind about whatever it is. I'm glad they're finally starting to look at this and but they still got to do a better job. Don't wait for the public outrage of people to do things. Do things when it happens. Because every time y'all do this and it takes so long, it looks like you're trying to sweep stuff under the rug, and the only reason it got out is because it got leaked out. And then you made a decision. Just be proactive about it. For once. Like, that's what some of us want. It'll clear up, man. Guys are going to get pissed off about this stuff. You just keep on letting it happen. It happens at our local level too, trust me. I've had a conversation or two with some tournament directors, pretty pissed off at the fact that they kind of knew stuff was going down and they waited. But by the time they waited, thousands upon thousands of dollars were already taken from us. And the bad part is, some of these guys that we fish against, they have no idea it even happened. They have no idea. And the way they went about it, and thousands, $100,000 people have lost. And they just kind of took their time about, being proactive about it. The writing was on the wall. They had some people, we tell them, this is a no-brainer right here. And then all of a sudden, those people just right off into the wind, never be heard of again with everyone's money. That's the sad part. It's still going on to this day. All right, I'm out of here. I got other things to do.